6 animals moving into California cities. There's a gap under your back fence this spring that wasn't there last year. Just wide enough for something to squeeze through. The food you leave out for cat turns up licked clean before the sun's all the way up some mornings. And you've been blaming the neighbor's dog for it, even though that dog never left his own yard once in his entire life. You know, people don't walk their dogs like they ought to sometimes. Well, something's been digging along the edge of the porch too, and it's left some small tracks pressed into the soft dirt after a rain. You want to know what's actually coming through your yard at night? And at the same time, you honestly rather not know. For a long time, the deal in this state seemed simple. California builds a city, and the animals that used to live on the ground lose the argument and move off somewhere else. A lot of them never got that memo. Some of the wildest animals in California looked at our streets and our backyards and decided, hey, that's actually a good place to live now. Tonight I'm going to walk you through 6 of them. And by the end, you're going to look at your own block a little bit differently. I'm Mr. V, and this is the Untamed Lens. Number 6, wild turkeys. Now, I'm not talking about your neighbor. You're driving your kid to church to catch the bus on a quiet neighborhood outside of Sacramento, running a couple minutes behind like always. You round the corner and the whole street is covered in turkeys strutting around like they owned the place, not in a hurry to let anybody through. Wildlife agencies brought wild turkeys into California decades ago for hunters to chase. Instead of staying in the wild country, plenty of them moved into the suburbs where nobody's allowed to shoot them. They're pretty smart birds, and every yard works like an all-you-can-eat buffet. This year, more than 24 turkeys took over a residential block in Antioch, California. Doorbell cameras caught them walking straight through morning school drop-off, and parents had to get out and walk their kids past a wall of birds that would not budge. Almost like roosters, and them dumb things will spur you, but I don't think they had those problems with the turkeys. Now, in Lexington Hills neighborhood, outside of Folsom, California, a homeowner watched a group of turkeys slide down her windshield and crack tiles off of her roof. Her insurance company called it an act of nature and went and covered the damn damage. You need to drop those people too if that happens to you. And if you're in the insurance company watching this shit, you better pay up, buddy. It ain't an act of freaking nature. It's a damn turkey. Now, one family in Martinez, California says about 20 of the birds showed up like clockwork every day. A wild turkey in your driveway acts like a guy who crashed a party and decides he's staying anyway. Now, there's nothing you can do that says going to talk him out of it, because you can't talk a damn turkey out of it. That one just wandered into the lawn and he got comfortable. The next one moved into the water running behind downtown. It's already changed the shape of the place. Number 5 is the Beavers. You're walking through downtown Martinez on a warm evening, past the little shops and the country office. You stop on the bridge of Albra Creek to look down at the water. Y'all know I said that wrong. The way anybody else would. This time it's different though. The creek's backed up behind a dam of sticks and mud. 6 foot high, 30 feet across, right behind the county offices. And something big is swimming slow in circles in the pond it made. In late 2006, a pair of beavers moved into that creek and started building. They didn't even get a building code or anything with that. They didn't get their license. Well, by the next year, the city wanted them gone. Word the dam would flood the whole downtown area. But a group of local residents who call themselves Worth a Dam fought the city on it, and the city backed down. That family of beavers stuck around that creek for years. Other wildlife moved in around the ponds they built, and the town's been throwing an annual beaver festival ever since. The state's own wildlife department has gotten into it too, now funding programs to help beavers move back into California's waterways on purpose. That's sort of like taking a beaver to school kind of day, right? You got turkeys that's trying to stop you from going to school. Well, down in Palo Alto, California, I surely said that wrong, a fox researcher named Bill Lakem caught a pair of beavers in his trail camera in Maltora Creek in 2022. I don't know what the hell he's doing. He really sucks at being a fox researcher, but he's a pretty good beaver researcher, right? Well, they were the first ones seen in that creek, beavers that is, in more than 160 years. The year after that, his camera caught a baby beaver, the first one born there in that same stretch of time. Once a beaver picks a spot, that's final, unless you're a trapper. The same as a neighborhood pouring concrete over a fence without ever asking you to, because that's final too when they lay that concrete down on your property. They ain't gonna get out there with a hammer. No, that one, the beavers, can rework the creek behind your house without you ever seeing it, or lifting a finger. The next one weighs more than your refrigerator, damn it, and it's already let itself into somebody's pool. Speaking of something that moves in and just takes over without asking anybody's permission, that's exactly what I want you to do. Subscribe. Hit that subscribe button so you can do your thing right now. So go ahead, hit it. Hit that like button too. And while you're at it, well, you know the drill. Let's get back to it. Number 4, black bears. Now, I'm ready to do some black bear talking. It's early on a summer morning in the hills above Santa Barbara, California. And you step out back before your coffee's even made, still half asleep. Hell, I walked into the wall the other day half asleep before my coffee. My wife asked me I'm okay. I said, I only hit my noggin. And she said, well, ain't nothing unusual about that. So, but there's something big already in your pool when those people walk around. I got a pool too, but I ain't never had a bear in it. You know what I almost said. Well, there's something big already in your pool, and it takes you a second or longer to realize it ain't your neighbor's dog. This is happening more than it used to. Just this month, in Toro Canyon area of Santa Barbara County, residents caught 2 black bears on video skinny dipping in the pool. The bears had climbed into a backyard pool from an early morning swim before anybody in the house was even up. But just good to do when you're skinny dipping, I think. I have a pool. The state's wildlife department, we get back on track now, has counted more than 60,000 black bears in California these days, up from somewhere between 10,000 and 15,000 back in the early 1990s. Years of drought have pushed a lot of them down out of the hills, looking for water or something to eat, which the pools have a lot of water. In the foothill town of Sierra Madre, California, outside of Los Angeles, black bears have been spotted wandering down residential streets in broad daylight. No different than a neighbor out for a walk or skinny dipping in your pool. Researchers, you got some pretty cool neighbors. Researchers looking into the trend say the same pattern is showing up in other foothill towns nearby, where bears have taken to going through the trash along the sidewalk. A bear climbing in your pool isn't hunting anybody. It's just a very large animal that took one look at your backyard and decided it beats the county's actual bear country. What I'm trying to say, your backyard looks better than his. That one weighs as much as a grown man, and it don't care much who's watching. The next one weighs about as much as a bag of sugar, and you could walk right past it in your own yard and never once know it was there. Number 3 is the San Joaquin kit fox. You're out on your back patio in Bakersfield, California. It's about dark, and something small slips under the fence, quick and low to the ground, much like a rat. Smaller than the average house cat, but bigger than a rat. It stops for a second under the porch light and looks at you before it's gone, off toward a den it's been digging under the neighbor's shed for weeks, much like the poop owl. The kit fox lost almost all of its home ground to farming and new building. The federal government listed as endangered clear back in 1967. Somewhere between 200 and 400 of them are between 200 and 400 of them are living inside the city limits of Bakersfield right now, a town close to 50,000 people. Researchers who track the population say the fox is doing better there than in most of what's left of the wild. They are kind of wild though, don't touch them. They're not like freaking tame. That's the exact opposite of how things are supposed to work though for an endangered animal. Scientists are now studying whether at Bakersfield foxes could help save the rest of the species. Well, Bakersfield, y'all get ready. There's a bunch of foxes coming apparently. Well, this is about as endangered as an animal gets in this state, and its best shot at making it turned out to be your neighbor's shed instead of the open desert. Nobody saw that coming, least of all the fox. That one survived by staying small and out of sight. The next one, well, it never bothered hiding, and it's already running the whole block. Number 2, you know it's coming, coyotes. You're out on a bike ride in the evening, somewhere in Santa Monica. Let me say that again. Somewhere out in Santa Monica, houses on the side of the path and the ocean on the other side. It's a stretch you've ridden through plenty of times without a second thought. Tonight, something comes off the hillside at a dead run, angling straight for your back tire, and it ain't slowing down when you shout at it. When the Paradise fires tore through the Santa Monica Mountains in January of 2025, it pushed coyotes out of the burned hills and into the neighborhoods below. By that summer, riders along the San Vincent Boulevard in Santa Monica were reporting coyotes charging at them on the public bike path. That fire didn't create the coyote problem, it just sped up something that was already happening in cities up and down the state. Coyotes now live inside nearly every major city in California, and a whole bunch of other states too. Researchers have fitted some of them with tracking collars and found that the ones living deep in the city switched their whole schedule around, moving at night and staying hidden during the day just to avoid running into us. This year, the state's Fish and Game Commission voted to move forward on tightening the rules around killing coyotes inside the city limits because the animal isn't going anywhere. A coyote used to be something you saw way off in a field somewhere, like scenery. Now, it's setting its alarm clock around your schedule, and it picked up nighttime because that's when you're the one not paying attention. Coyotes have learned our patterns and adjusted just to make it in the city. Now, the next one never bothered adjusting for anybody. And it spent more than 10 years living inside one of the biggest cities in the entire country without most of the people around it ever knowing it was there. And you'd rather not know it was there, especially if it was looking in your backyard or trying to skinny dip in your pool like them bears. So it's number 1, the mountain lion. You're out for an early walk near Griffith Park, coffee in one hand and the hollow one side visible on the ridge above you. Joggers pass you, then a couple of cyclists, the ones ding ding passing, on your left. The park is humming along with its usual weekend crowd. It doesn't cross your mind for a second that anything bigger than a squirrel could be living within a mile of this many people, this close to the middle of Los Angeles. For more than 10 years, that assumption would have been wrong. In February of 2012, wildlife officials were reviewing trail camera footage from right there in Griffith Park. A full-grown mountain lion stared back at the lens. And nobody had any idea how long he'd actually been living there. They trapped and collared him, tagged him. He got a number. His name was P22, the 22nd mountain lion in their study. Testing showed he had been born clear on the other side of the city in the Santa Monica Mountains. To reach Griffith Park, he crossed 2 of the busiest freeways in the entire country, the 405 and the 101. That same crossing has killed other mountain lions that tried it too. This one was luckier. The park runs a little over 4,000 acres. By the National Park Service's own math, that's about 31 times smaller than the ground a male mountain lion needs to survive on his own. P-22 stayed anyway, sharing the park's trails and the picnic spots with something like 10 million visitors a year, and mostly managed to stay out of sight the entire time. Now, in 2015, a security contractor found him curled up in the crawl space under a house in Las Fez. National Geographic photographer caught him on camera with the Hollywood sign lit up behind him. You know, he wants to be in the pictures, right? That photograph turned him into the most famous animal Los Angeles has ever produced, other than Lassie probably. In his final weeks, he was hurt from being hit by one of them cars on 101, or that other place. And he was sick on more than one occasion at once. He started going after small dogs in the neighborhood around the park. And in December of 2022, wildlife officials made the call to put him down. A mountain lion is supposed to need more space than that to survive, more ground than most people will ever set foot on in their whole life. But he built a full decade out of a park you could walk across in the afternoon. The grief over that cat reached well past this date. It helped push forward a bridge that's being built right now over the 101 freeway, not far from where he first crossed it, meant to give the next mountain lion a real way through instead of a gamble against 10 lanes of traffic. Officials expect it to open by the end of this year. This is 2026. Now, when it does, it'll be the largest crossing ever built for wild animals anywhere on Earth. I mean, that's probably bigger than Noah, maybe. It's built because of one cat proved a mountain lion could live in the middle of a city, and most of us never even noticed it until he already had. Now, my biggest concern is how many of them are going to come in, because he was nice. What happens when one ain't? Well, he was nice until he wasn't and started eating people's pets. Anyway, if you like this episode, go ahead and give it a like, and don't forget to subscribe and give us a hype so you don't miss the next episode of The Untamed Lens. I'm Mr. B, and I'll see you in the next episode.